Good morning. Welcome back, Jack Keith, J-Dog on the boards. And J-Dog, we're looking at a pretty good start for our Monday as we get into the week. Is it going to be a nice trick-or-treating night? We'll see as we get going, but we have a packed show for you. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, worldwide, locally, regionally, nationally, you name it, play the pulse of an H. Our poll question up on X this morning. Do you think Kamala Harris will run for president in 2028? We'll come back to some commentary. Day 27 of the government shutdown, and some folks, including those of the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. I spoke to one of the senior folks this weekend. Not too happy. They're working without pay. Airports starting to show some delays. It'll be an interesting week. And could U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen, she's not running again, of course, here in New Hampshire, but could she play a more senior role in helping to broker a deal to end the government shutdown? Also, Jamaica bracing for the worst hurricane to ever hit that island in the modern times. Category 5 Hurricane Melissa could make landfall tomorrow, and it could be an absolute nightmare, Mother Nature-wise, for the folks and people in Jamaica. We have a lot going on. We'll kick it off this morning live. Paul Steinhauser joins us. He reports nationally for Fox News, Fox News Digital. Good morning, Steiny. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H on this Monday. How are you?
Hey, Jack. How are you this morning?
Doing okay. A lot going on. I guess we could start. President Trump getting the royal welcome in Japan, already negotiating with China. So as the government shutdown continues into the fourth week, doesn't seem to affect the president much in terms of what he's doing.
No, but a lot of Democrats and even some Republicans back in Washington wanting to take a larger role in trying to bring this thing to an end. But yeah, while he's overseas, at least for this week, doesn't look like that is going to happen. But we got some big deadlines coming up, especially when it comes to health insurance. That'll start affecting a lot of Americans across the country. That may change things. Hey, you were just talking a moment ago, Jack. I'm a campaign reporter, so you're talking about Kamala Harris, the former vice president, of course, the Democratic nominee last year. Yeah, that BBC interview over the weekend. She said, I am not done. I have lived my entire career as a life of service, and it's in my bones. Some of her strongest words, yes, towards possibly making her run to the White House in 2028 rather than jumping into the race at the last minute. Of course, we all know what happened last summer. Also, Gavin Newsom, the California governor, Jack, we all think he's probably going to run in 2028. In a CBS interview over this weekend, he said he gives serious thought to running for the White House. Otherwise I'd be lying. Otherwise, Gavin Newsom saying what we all thought he would. No surprise there, right, Jack?
No.
A big Democrat deal.
I know it's a little bit early. We have the midterms first, and Newsom saying he'd make a decision after that. But you look at Newsom, you look at Kamala Harris. She had the most liberal voting record in the U.S. Senate. And then you look at the mayoral Democrat candidate in New York City, and you look at the Democrat Party where the real energy is in activism. And then you look like a Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, more moderate players in the Democrat Party. Do they even have a chance given the push to the left in this Democrat Party nationally right now?
Well, you bring up some good points, but let's also take a look at there's two governor's elections this year, right? Next week, and Democratic nominees in both states, Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, Mickey Sherrill in New Jersey, most of them are moderate Democrats. So, yeah, there is a split. There are plenty of big stars on the left. And hey, maybe AOC will run for president in 2028. We shall see. But there are a lot of moderate Republicans, lucky Governor Beshear up here in New Hampshire. So, stay tuned. But one thing is for sure, Jack, that 2028 race is underway.
Yeah.
Cory Booker, he ran last back in 2020. He'll be up here in New Hampshire in a couple weeks as well. So 2028 definitely underway, at least for the Democrats.
And you have, of course, President Trump on Air Force One going over to Asia, flirting with that. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe vice president. I don't know. We got a great team, great people. I'm not going to rule anything out. Of course, driving a lot of folks nuts on whether he would look at running as VP and next time around. He's touting J.D. Vance, Marco. We got a good team. So he likes to open that door. I think he's having more fun than not.
Yeah, I think, he likes to push buttons for sure. But we all know the U.S. Constitution is pretty clear.
Yeah.
President can't serve after 2 terms, right?
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Steiny, thank you very much. Paul Steinhauser reporting nationally for Fox. Thank you, Paul. All right, we've got a packed hour for you. Anna Brown's coming up, talking about some of the State House stuff. We're going to check in live from D.C., our own Brad Card on day 27. Doug Tengden will weigh in. Obviously, the markets the markets are going to like this Asia trip, especially if the president can come away with something in terms of any kind of a deal. J-Dog, it just boosted up there. Was that me or you? Okay. As we get going this morning, we have a lot going on. You know, it's interesting. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H. It's interesting with the couple of things are interesting, I think. You look at where the Democrat Party, energy-wise, I mean, Kamala Harris saying, you know, not ruling out, it's in her bones to run, you know, to be involved. And after, you know, more recently, she kind of went back to California, wasn't going to run, now saying she's not ruling it out. But, you know, look at that. Look at the optics on that. You know, say what you want about November 5th in the last election, but, you know, that nomination was handed to Harris, and can't say she didn't raise enough money. And she just turned out not to be able to communicate or articulate what she would do if elected. And that became an issue to some people. You're running for president. What do you want to do? How are you going to be different than the administration you've been a part of? And had a hard time answering that question. Her whole campaign, by the way, let's be honest here, Harris's whole campaign with Waltz of Minnesota was, I don't like Donald Trump. He's not electable. He's offensive. Donald Trump can't be president. He can't win. That was her whole campaign. Run against Donald Trump. And some would think it was going to work. And of course, I kind of don't forget the national polls and all the pundits. We wouldn't know. We wouldn't know on election night who won the race between Harris and Trump. It would take weeks or months before we knew. My memory is we knew that night Trump was giving his victory speech, including all the battleground states where Harris, according to the polls, had somewhat of a lead, a couple points here and there, and wasn't to be. And again, when you run for office, I think you have to talk about what you want to do, what plans. And if you don't like Donald Trump and his style, he was very clear he was going to shut the southwest border. He did. They did. The administration, they shut it pretty quickly. He was going to tackle illegal immigration. He was going to take on China. And during the campaign, people forgot he talked about tariffs and righting the scales and evening the playing field. And he's still doing it, even on this Asia trip. He talked about things, make things here in America again. And I think the Democrats have to come up with a new message other than, we don't like Donald Trump. We don't like Donald Trump. We don't like Donald Trump. What's your message? What are you going to run for? And it's going to be interesting. Because in the midterms coming up, speaking of the government shutdown, I spoke to one of the more senior folks, great person on the seacoast in Portsmouth. He's been at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard a lot of years. One of the leader, I think he's one of the senior folks over there. I don't know exactly what area, union or not. I don't know what his role is as a civilian contractor, but he said this weekend, he said it's getting pretty testy over there, getting pretty short on patience, not getting paid. He said a lot of his crew, you know, his workers, they need to get paid for mortgage, rent, family, groceries, you name it, utilities. It's getting real painful for the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. And he said, interesting, he said, you know, I was going to call, I have a good relationship with the governor's office, our senators in Washington, meaning Senators Hassan and Shaheen. He goes, I realized really Governor Kelly Ayotte doesn't have much to do with the vote in this government shutdown. So he reached out. He goes, each cycle when these folks run for New Hampshire for Congress, they want photo ops. They want to cut commercials over at the shipyard and tout the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in Portsmouth and Kittery. Local economy. He goes, every time they want to run for office, they come over here and pat our back. So I called and said, what the heck are you doing? We got to get paid here. End this thing. Not going to bode well the next time around. Now, you know, Jeanne Shaheen, the senior U.S. senator, who's been very consistent in her support for the shipyard, it's not my point, is not running again. And that's why you have this wide open U.S. Senate race here with Chris Pappas running as a Democrat. He has a challenge. You have now John E. Sununu, older brother of Chris Sununu. You have Scott Brown. You have big Senate race because Senator Shaheen's not running again. So she's not running again. She's done. She's moving on, retiring, if you will. Should she play a bigger role in trying to broker an end to this government shutdown? Because the longer that federal employees, and you look at airports, you know, it's sad to say, but it's probably true. The consumer will probably drive an end to this government shutdown more than healthcare, more than healthcare benefits, more than a renewal of Obamacare November 1st, no more than SNAP. It's the consumer who wants to fly and fly out of New Hampshire or the region on time, not be delayed. We are getting into November here at the end of the week, Saturday, November 1st, the busiest travel time in the air of the year. You think people out there, the customers, the consumers, are going to be happy if we go into Thanksgiving and they're booking trips to go home to see their families and they're getting notices of delays or flight cancellations? You think they're going to be happy? I don't. So things like this are going to afford. But the question is, this could be a pivotal week. We have a live report coming up from DC on this. We have a whole lot more. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Come back. Anna Brown, Citizens Count with the local stuff next.
This is the Pulse of New Hampshire. Good morning, New Hampshire, live from the Outdoor Pride Studios. Now, back to Jack Heath on the Pulse of New Hampshire.
Of course, broadcasting up into Maine, in terms of extra signals, and 98.7 FM HD2, 98.1 FM, 1270 AM. So good morning. in the region. And I guess found out recently that our day part starting at 5:30 in the morning with Mike Pomp. My show, Good Morning New Hampshire with J-Dog, 9 to noon, our afternoon. And that's live on our network of stations, including 107.7 FM, 107.3 FM in the Lakes region, and our on-demand, #1 now, and growing in the region for audio, on-demand, or live for News Talk. That's pretty cool. #1 on the listening side. All right. Also on YouTube, you can watch now 9 to noon. 9 to 10 on the YouTube at the Pulse of an H. Anna Brown, Citizens Count. CitizensCount.org, the great Anna Brown and Mike Dunbar and her team. Anna joins us with some local, I guess this week, other than the midterms, Anna, good morning. It's how does New Hampshire, at locally prepare for more impacts from this government shutdown if things continue after Friday and Saturday, November 1st, in terms of things like healthcare or food, SNAP benefits, things like that. Good morning, Anna. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're not home to a big military installation domestically, like, certain states, Texas, North Carolina, but we do have the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. There's a lot of people, families on the coast whose livelihood depends on getting paid as civilian contractors there. And this gets old real fast. Let me ask you a question, Anna Brown, citizenscount.org. I had said when this government shutdown started, something that I think is still true, but it doesn't really make the headlines. I think the last time around when Chuck Schumer and the Democrats acquiesced to a spending measure and didn't fight and vote against things and sort of shut the government down, the far left side of his own party wasn't too happy. And I think this is all about midterm calculations politically. And if you've noticed, President Trump's in Japan, he's in Asia. He doesn't really care much about this government shutdown yet. He's doing his thing. I think it falls right down the middle of this political divide in America. I mean, if you're an anti-Trump, anti-Republican person, you say, hey, they're in charge. This government's shutdown's their fault. And if you're a Republican looking at this saying, hey, now's not the time to negotiate all these other spending measures. Let's just get the government reopened. And so I'm looking at this going, okay, so Democrats are making a calculation because Schumer used to be the one that would say, we cannot allow the federal government to shut down and not meet our obligations when the Freedom Caucus wanted to talk about cuts. We'll debate that later. We cannot shut the government down. I think the Democrats have taken a different calculation. I don't know where it goes, but what's just what I'm going to end on, and sorry to go on, Anna, is Jeanne Shaheen. Obviously a very veteran senior member of the U.S. Senate. She's not running again. Can she play a bigger role? Because I was talking to the shipyard, one of the managers this weekend, in terms of brokering a deal to reopen the government, or does she just sort of say, yeah, I'm out of here soon, who cares? All right, what else is catching your eye? I mean, we now have a U.S. Senate primary on both sides, or at least Republican major one formed. Really, not much else. We don't hear much about the first congressional district primaries, plural. Now that Anthony DiLorenzo, we had Holly Noveletsky on the show the other day. You have several people running. I think Chris Bright and others. Democrats, Stephanie Shaheen, Maura Sullivan. It's like a no school list. But we're not a lot of chatter about that first district primary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Anna Brown, Citizens Count, citizenscount.org. Thank you, Anna. We come back. Day 27 into the fourth week government shutdown. We're going to get a live report. Brad Card in D.C. He's trying to get this thing over with. We'll check in with Brad. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Thanks for making us number one for your news talk in the region. Play the Pulse of NH. Back in a moment.
Jack on the pulse of New Hampshire.
Well, a lot of questions, more questions than answers on this government shutdown. Day 27, Brad Card, our own Brad Card, big part of the show, live in D.C. and co-host of Contact Politics. We'll get back to that hopefully this week. Brad, this is an interesting week, I think, in this whole thing in terms of certain timetables like November 1st. I know talking to one of the senior folks at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard this weekend, they're not too happy not getting paid. And is there going to be a break in the action soon? Good morning, Brad. And will some people like in the military and TSA start getting paid? Well, yeah. Brad, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Unless they pay FAA, TSA folks, I can't imagine a couple of weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, when you actually have Thanksgiving in eyesight and you look at the major airports, you fly a lot back and forth. You could have a most chaotic scene we've seen in airports. Look at what a technology glitch does or an employee shortage with an airline and backups. But if you have delays that are multiplying going into Thanksgiving, the busiest travel period of the year in the air, and the government's still shut down, I can't imagine that from a consumer point of view. You'd have outright chaos on your hands. Mm. I I think Schumer and Democrats are afraid of the far left side of their own party. They want to be angry. They want to disrupt. They don't care. I think they're gonna say, you know what? Keep the government shut down. It's just fight, fight, fight. But Yeah, but by but
Now, all that said, I would also add, Jack, I do believe Republicans should be in Congress every single day during this shutdown, and they should be negotiating appropriations
right, right.
to try to get.
But let's face it, midterms are going to be the first big test here in states like New Hampshire, that U.S. Senate race, local races all around the country. We got a couple of gubernatorial races coming up shorter, like Virginia. Um, will people buy in New Jersey? Will people buy and the next, next fall, a year from now, they're going to remember this government shutdown and blame one party or the other?
Now, the unfortunate answer to that is probably no. They should remember it, and they should remember whose caused this, because it's going to hurt them,
Yeah.
and it's hurting our economy if nothing
Right,
else.
right.
It's hurting our economy. So we should not put up with it. Voters should remove it.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of changing the parliamentary procedures in the United States Senate and getting rid of the filibuster and the 60 vote threshold. I am not a fan of that. I would oppose that if I was in the Senate. But that said, it gives credence to things like that because we have this craziness happening in
We
Washington, D.C. that defies logic.
Well, speaking of craziness, we haven't talked much. Voters in New York City getting ready there in the mayor's race. What's the Brad Card take on this?
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving, I guess. That's going to be a gift for Republicans. You have a socialist who's going to get elected. Um, stand by. Let's see how many people leave New York. I have a couple of friends that are pretty senior executives with big Wall Street firms, and they're talking about leaving New York City. I think that's real, and I think it will happen.
Interesting. All right. What else is catching your eye on this Monday morning?
It's definitely this shutdown is really seems to just be going on where we see Republicans hold press conferences, Democrats hold press conferences, and nothing really seems to move. I think there needs to be somebody to step up, and I GCE, quite frankly, could be one of
Well,
those senior leaders of the United States Senate
I asked that
that
earlier.
could really step up and bring some harmony along the way.
Well, I said that earlier. I mean, she's not running again. Should she play a more senior public role in ending this since she's not running for reelection? Could she, gone are the days where you would actually see like a Senator Shaheen and another Democrat U.S. senator and a couple of Republican senators coming out together at a lectern or a press conference saying, "Hey, we want to work together, and this is what we're proposing to our colleagues." It might be pretty good to see. I'm not sure we're going to see that though.
In the Democrat Congress, I think somebody needs to stand up and say, okay, we made our point.
Yeah.
Okay, we made our point. The American people are aware of why we did not go along with their resolution. We we are bringing attention to the fact that premiums are going to go up if Obamacare subsidies are not passed. I think it's a legitimate debate to have in Congress. I would not personally vote to extend them because uh, they were temporary measures to help people get health care during the pandemic, COVID. Um, I understand why we did it. It was never intended to be permanent. So I think it's worthy of a debate, and that's where you should have this debate in Congress, and it should be aired, and people should know where these people stand. This is a government shutdown that is a clean CR, and sometimes I've been critical of Republicans bringing up CRs and calling them clean, yet they're not clean. This is a clean CR, so this is really 100% fault of the Democrats in the United States.
All right, Brad. Thank you, Brad Card Live. Appreciate it. We come back. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors, Dow Jones Industrial gaining 200 points this morning, up. Dow Jones jumping up 200 points on news of a potential China trade deal with the U.S. as the president is in Japan and eventually going to be already on back channel talking with the Chinese leaders about a trade deal. Markets liking it. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Doug on deck next. Thoughts and prayers with you.
Outdoor Pride is the Granite State's largest landscape and snow management firm, proudly serving commercial properties from Greater Manchester to Greater Boston. Visit them online at outdoorpride.com. Now, back to Jack Heath on the pulse of New Hampshire.
Wow, you look at how Doug Tengden, worldmarketadvisors.com. Good morning, Doug. Good, good, thanks. I'm chuckling to myself here because I'm looking at what a dichotomy. You got the government shutdown and all the back and forth and the sniping and the name calling and the threat of healthcare or SNAP benefits. And then you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average this morning as the president's in Asia, Japan already negotiating with China. Not a deal yet on trade, but it looks like China's agreed to stuff. We've agreed to stuff. And the Dow Jones Industrial, the market's up already 200 this morning. What a different picture of two worlds. Yeah, and again, I know you don't hover in the direct political analysis area, but I think you'd agree with me. There's some ties, obviously. President Trump is doing his thing regardless of the government shutdown. He's doing his thing, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. You're already seeing the Christmas commercials, holiday shopping, Halloween. The end of this week, you know what people spend on Halloween? Talk about a distraction. You wonder the all-important retail holiday season. Things are so online. If we're gonna probably not even see that much of a blip on that one in terms of a dip. I think things will be slower, but I think people are going to do what they do. The economy is showing more resiliency than I would have predicted. Yeah. Well, I would not disagree with that, especially furloughed workers, people saying, I'm not going to deal with this and by the way, I don't want to get into direct politics with you, but every 6 months we have a looming government shutdown. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. What a way to run a federal government. Yeah. Yeah, we already have a aging FAA, people on the towers. TSA agents probably rather go to their county municipal government and get a job in public safety than, be dealing with government shutdowns. That's a good point, Doug. All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll probably get you again on maybe midweek or Thursday. Thank you, Doug. right, we are. I've actually been to Jamaica a few times in the past, much younger. Looking at this hurricane, moving to a Category 5, expected to make landfall in Jamaica tomorrow. We are looking at winds at that level of a storm. You're looking at unbelievable. Actually, you're looking at 120 to 140 mile per hour winds, torrential rain. I heard one report this morning, 30 inches could be dropped upon Jamaica, and the infrastructure in Jamaica. I got to tell you, this could be. I remember years ago the hurricane that whacked Grand Bahama, Freeport, Bahamas, and look at they're still, I think, trying to deal with rebuilding. This could be devastating for Jamaica, and it's kind of really sad. It could be the strongest system, Hurricane Melissa. It's intensifying into they're calling it a monster Category 5 storm as it kind of moves next to or right over Jamaica. And where it goes from there, I have no idea. But it's intensifying, and this is a real serious one. I checked this morning, both just in some of the news, both airports in Jamaica have been closed. No one coming in, no one going out. If you're there, you're there. You look at some of the infrastructure in Jamaica. I mean, remember a number of years ago when Puerto Rico had that extended power shortage because their infrastructure on the energy side, electricity. Well, Jamaica's parts of Jamaica are pretty rural. I mean, outside of Montego Bay or Kingston, you look at some of the mountains and some of the areas. I mean, some homes are not even what you'd call permanent structures in Jamaica. So this could be an absolutely devastating storm to hit Jamaica. President Trump in Japan getting the royal treatment, and he'll be dealing with more in Asia, including the leaders of China, talking about some trade stuff. Some of the other news talk happening on this Monday morning as we get going, final full week of October. Very hard to believe. We bring in November on Saturday. J-Dog, on the trick-or-treat or Halloween side, some communities doing it actually on Halloween. Is it is it a Friday night thing, J-Dog? Friday afternoon, Halloween? So that's when it's going to be in most communities? Well, I thought your favorite day of the year is Halloween. You get dressed up. You get dressed up as an umpire for the Cleveland Guardians, don't you? Hey, J-Dog, sports. We're going to come back to a little bit at the 11 o'clock. I saw LSU parted ways with Coach Kelly. I'm not really shocked they lost to Texas, but any other big, I guess last night, Aaron Rodgers was set back a little bit. You look at some of the games, Broncos did their thing. Eagles did their thing over the Giants. Patriots continue unbelievable 5 in a row. Any other big highlights coming out of the weekend for you? Wow. Packers? Really? Wow. Wow. I was watching a little bit of that Cowboys Broncos and Bo Nick. I got to tell you, these are the teams you don't know about. People were saying it about the Tampa Bay Bucks and they slowed down a little bit, but the Broncos look pretty darn good, J-Dog. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think being a New Englander and a Patriots fan, I don't think any of us, well, let me just tell you what I think on this. I think Mike Vrabel is an all-encompassing coach. I think he's got the respect of the players. He respects them. He understands it. He's on the younger side. He's played. He's coached. He's in New England. He's got a good thing going. Got an unbelievable quarterback now. Great receivers. Pretty good line. And defense doing their thing. So the team's playing a good place kicker. They're playing across the board very well. But you look at, I think they have Falcons up next, but the Patriots, I just think the feeling was if they got 10 wins, if they got double-digit wins this season, pretty good first season for rebuilding under Vrabel, and I think they're going to probably get at least 10. I think they, have the chance. Unbelievable, huh? Yep. Hey, yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't want to get into the whole North Carolina Bill Belichick. They lost a close one. Was it 17-16, but they lost. Do you get the feeling that I don't know how it's going to end, the season will end, but I don't think Bill Belichick will be the coach here next year. Do you? I think they're going to, as they say, part ways. Yeah, I don't know. Coach Belichick hasn't done a great job on the final chapters there in terms of his personal life becoming front and foremost. I know. He's not the first, but he just let this thing it's really goofy, get ahead of himself, and it's really sad, actually. All right, hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play The Pulse of an Age. Coming up, we're going to get an academic check-in. Neil Levesque said at some college a little bit later on. Rory O'Neill, 24/7 News National Live. We'll have the latest on Hurricane Melissa barreling. When I say barreling, it's coming in like a Category 5 bombshell to hit Jamaica. So we'll get the latest on that and a little bit more. We're going to have some good news on a Monday as well. Tom Raphael will get some good news as we get going. Thanks for joining us. Our poll question, we'll have the results for you at the on X at the Pulse of an Age. Do you think Kamala Harris will really run again for president in 2028? Yes or no? I don't, but what do you think? All right. Pulse of an H on a nice looking Monday, final full week of October, day 27 in the government shutdown. Back in a moment.